morning, Year 11. I hope you're well and having a lovely day. Please could you write the date and title? The title today is Spring Try Weekly 3, Question 4 Comparison. For your do now, please could you write down as many comparative connectives as you can. Pause the video to do this now. So you should be very familiar with the reading section by now. Question 1, identifying explicit and implicit information. Question 2, a basic comparison or analysis of language and structure. Question 3, analysis of language and structure, and question 4, evaluation and comparison. So that's the most heavily weighted in terms of marks and the section in the reading section that you spend the longest on. So that's why we're focusing on it the most. It's also the hardest question and the question students tend to get the lowest score on in the reading section. So that's why we're focusing on it. And you should be very familiar with the timings by now, but if not, take a moment to review them. And so let's go through the overview again. So there's two elements, comparison and evaluation. The comparison is you're comparing the two, so looking at similarities and differences between them, and the evaluative element is considering to what extent each text agrees or disagrees with the statement. So similarities and differences, how far each text agrees or disagrees. A top-level answer will establish a clear viewpoint, so has a clear argument embedded in the answer. Use well-selected quotes from both texts. Will identify points of comparison. Use comparative connectives, so things like similarly, however, both. Make evaluative comments linking to the statement. Consistently measure level of agreement, so don't just say I agree or I disagree. Say I fully agree or I agree to a certain extent. Make it really clear to the examiner how far you agree, so you're getting into the top band for evaluation. And finally, you're also considering the impact on the reader. Do remember that you need to mention the reader explicitly, not just implicitly. So make sure you're saying, this affects the reader, this shows the reader. Make sure you have the word reader in there. And it's worth 18 marks, and you spend 25 minutes on it. So in terms of your planning, you always start by considering the statement and highlighting key words. You may also choose to annotate it, jotting down some key ideas around the question. Your next step is reading through both texts with the statement in mind, and your third step is highlighting everything that agrees with the statement in one colour and everything that disagrees with the statement in another colour. Once again, you may want to make annotations at this point to help guide you when it comes to writing out your answer. As a final step, you're going to review the highlighted information and look for similarities and differences in terms of how the texts agree or disagree. There may only be similarities, there may only be differences. It depends on the two texts that you're looking at. So let's start with step 1, a very good place to start. We're going to consider the statement. Both texts present the characters increasing fear in new surroundings. How far do you agree with the statement? What I'd like you to do is copy down this question, highlight the key words, and annotate with key ideas if you would like. So pause the video to do this now. So we're not going to go through it together at this point, but tomorrow will be a live lesson where we'll do the question together and look at some top-level answers. So that's when we'll go through all the steps together. Okay, so next I'd like you to read both texts with the statement in mind. So pause the video please to do that now. So step 3, really crucial step. What you need to do now is highlight everything that agrees with the statement in one colour and everything that disagrees in another colour. Remember, you may not have agree and disagree for both texts. You may only have one colour, that's absolutely fine. Don't try and make something fit if you don't think it's quite right. Just go with what you think is agree and disagree. So pause the video please to do that now, and remember, I would advise making annotations as you go along. If it's not helpful to you, then don't worry about it, but I always find it really helpful to make annotations as I go along, because then when it comes to writing it up, it's so quick and easy because you've already made your points, you've already jotted them down, it's just a matter of assembling everything. So think of it a bit like cooking. If you prep all the ingredients, all you have to do is throw them all into the pan and then you're done. Whereas if you're having to prep each ingredient and then put it in the pan, it's a bit more tricky. So do all your prep, I would say. Do your highlighting, do your annotations, and then writing up will be super easy because you've done all the thinking. You're just writing it out. But that's my approach. Maybe it won't work for you. So pause the video now to conduct step 3. Okay, so your next step is to review the highlighted information and look for similarities and differences. So please could you copy down the table on the slide and fill it out with your similarities and differences. As I keep saying, you don't need to have similarities and differences. It may be that all your points fall into similarities or all of them fall into differences. That's absolutely fine. So please pause the video now to fill out this table. And when you're filling out the table, you may want to add in quotes, but you don't have to do so. So pause the video and do that now. And finally, this is the structure. All this information is on your reading support skills sheet, which I've attached on class charts, so there's no need to copy it out. But just take a moment to read through it, and it will help guide your answer. So over to you. Both texts present characters' increasing fear in new surroundings. How far do you agree with this statement? I would like you to write up your answer in full as a Word document for your tri-weekly. Please do time yourself, so you should have about 25 minutes left, if not slightly more, so don't spend longer than that. Absolute maximum would be 30 minutes, because if you're spending too long now, then it's going to be more difficult for you in exam conditions. And also, you've done a lot of planning already, so it really shouldn't even take you the full 25 minutes, because you should just be writing up what you've already planned. So please don't spend a huge amount of time on it. Do get yourself into the habit of sticking to the timings, and it should be even quicker actually because you'll be typing, and I imagine you're quicker typing than writing. Maybe that's an assumption, but I think most people are nowadays. So no more than 25 minutes writing up your full answer. What I'll be doing is I'll be reviewing all your answers, and we'll have a live lesson tomorrow where we go through this question together. So we'll do all the steps together and either write out the full answer if we have time, or at least a couple of paragraphs, and hopefully we can go through some top level answers as well. So pause the video now please to write out your answer in full. Okay, so that's the end of today's lesson. So well done for completing it. I know you probably didn't want to try weekly on your first lesson back, but like I said, I've got something really fun and interesting and helpful planned for next Tuesday. And when you have that lesson, you understand why it has to be on that particular lesson for it to make sense. So something hopefully to look forward to next week. So thank you once again. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow for our live lesson.